Hello again, friends. Welcome to Gamecock Central Radio Baseball Report with Gamecock great Kip Bouknight. I'm Emerson Phillips. Kip, South Carolina back in the win column this week. A 12-5 win over the Citadel at Founders Park on Tuesday. And then Carolina beat Winthrop on Wednesday night. So, Kip, I'm curious to know, how important is it for the Gamecocks to pick up these two wins after losing the Clemson series in such a heartbreaking fashion?
Well, the good news is that, South Carolina won those two games. I still think there's a lot of learning opportunities for those two games, Emerson. They definitely weren't clean. From a positive standpoint, obviously coming back and beating Winthrop after getting down 4-0 before you could blink an eye is big. And coming back from down, I believe 5-1 to come back and win that game is certainly big. And doing it so late in the eighth inning, so that'll be something that they'll want to keep in their memory for the rest of the season, because there are going to be times they may be down late in the game and they need to realize that, hey, we can do this and we have done this and come back. So I think that's important. You'd like to see those games, winning those games maybe 7-1 or 10-2, or, where the bats get going, the pitching solid, you're not walking guys. But, hey, a win's a win, and it's good to get back on the winning track and get ready for, this weekend coming up against Michigan State.
Gamecocks banged out a season-high 15 hits in the 12-5 win over the Citadel on Tuesday night. Carolina hit 3 home runs, 2 for T.J. Hopkins, 1 for Chris Cullen, and Cullen added a career-high 5 RBIs. Kip, Chad Holbrook has said that T.J. Hopkins is capable of becoming an all-SEC player, and he's starting to play like it right now.
Yeah, T.J. is definitely a guy that I think is, he's pretty streaky, but I think if he can continue to work, in the cage, I'm sure, like he's doing with Brian Busher, and work on his swing a little bit, and really and truly just his confidence. I think, hopefully he can take this over and have a good weekend series here against Michigan State, and he certainly is a key ingredient for South Carolina moving forward.
Cody Morris got his first career start for the Gamecocks, worked 3 scoreless innings, gave up just 1 hit, struck out 6, and walked 1. And it was sophomore right-hander Graham Lawson working 3 innings in relief, gave up 4 runs, 4 hits, 3 strikeouts, and 1 walk. And junior lefty John Park picked up his first save of the year, 3 innings of relief, 1 run allowed, 3 hits, 5 Ks, and 2 walks. Matt Williams was 2 for 4 with a couple of singles, and he extended his hitting streak to 11 games. So Carolina, a 12-5 winner over the Citadel. The Citadel really struggling right now. Big win for the Gamecocks to break out the bats and bounce back from that disappointing loss to Clemson on Sunday. And then the Gamecocks were right back at it on Wednesday, Kip. Winthrop scored 4 runs in the top of the first inning, and it was an emotional night at Founders Park. Kip, before we get into the specifics of this ball game, I think we should point out that South Carolina honored Brett Williams, who passed away recently. He was a senior at White Knoll High School and a Gamecock baseball commit. Brett's brother plays catcher for Winthrop. He caught the first pitch Wednesday night that was thrown by Brett's parents. So South Carolina, obviously the Gamecock baseball family, the Gamecock nation as a whole, lost a young man way before his time. And this was a tragic loss, and I thought it was very nice that the university welcomed in the Williams family and honored Brett before the ball game here. And very special as well that Brett's brother plays for Winthrop, and he actually caught the first pitch from Brett's father at Founders Park Wednesday night. So this was the setting or the backdrop for this ball game.
Yeah, I tell you, Emerson, that's I get chills just hearing it again. It was a special moment, and for South Carolina to do that, especially playing against Winthrop and Brett's brother being able to obviously be there, and his parents, and catching that first pitch, and he, I'm sure, is shining down on us in heaven, looking down at all of us, and was proud of that moment. But certainly lost Brett way too soon, and my condolences, obviously, to his brother and his family. Really a tough time, but that can be very emotional. And I mean, South Carolina not getting out of the first inning, Brandon Murray coming in and starting and struggling with that, and giving up 4. But again, the positives, they certainly bounced back and came back to win that game ultimately late in the game.
Yeah, a somber start to the ball game, and then Winthrop came out and scored 4 runs in the top of the first inning. You mentioned Gamecock starter Brandon Murray. He lasted only a third of an inning, gave up 4 earned runs, 4 hits, walked 2, and struck out 1. And Winthrop struck for 4 in the top of the first. Carolina answered with 1 in the bottom of the first, but Winthrop led 6-4 going into the 8th inning, Kip. And in the bottom of the 8th, the Gamecocks scored 4 runs to rally and take the lead in this ball game. Destino opened the 8th with a solo home run. Jonah Bride then hit a double. Chris Cullen was hit by a pitch. And Madison Stokes laid down a sacrifice bunt. The throw went wide of first base. The Winthrop error scored 2 Gamecock runs and tied the ball game at 6. And then freshman Carlos Cortez plated a run on a sac fly to make it 7-6 Gamecocks. And then a passed ball and a wild pitch scored Madison Stokes. So 4 big runs for the Gamecocks in the bottom of the 8th. And they went on to win it 8-6. 8 runs on 11 hits, no errors for South Carolina. 6-11 and 3 costly errors for Winthrop. Attendance 6,512. So the Clemson series now pretty much in the rearview mirror at this point, Kip, thanks to a 2-0 outing during the week here. And Carolina now ready for the final 3-game weekend series of the non-conference portion of the schedule. A rare Big Ten opponent coming in, Michigan State. The opponent this weekend, 7 o'clock first pitch Friday, 4 o'clock start Saturday, 1:30 on Sunday. And Michigan State, Kip, playing 7 games in 10 days. They're on spring break like many of the colleges are right now, South Carolina included. So Michigan State making a trip down south to get some warm weather baseball in. And they played at Fluor Field. They lost to Clemson 9-2 on Wednesday night. They also played PC and Furman earlier this week, so they're spending some time here in the Palmetto State, and they're going to cap that trip with 3 games at Founders Park starting Friday.
Yeah, going back a little bit on Wednesday night, Brandon Murray, we've talked about this plenty of times, Emerson, is just pitchers in the bullpen and on the staff knowing their role. And, I look back to the game on Sunday, and, of course, this has a lot to do with going forward throughout the season. And even against this Michigan State team that's, even though they're playing 7 games in 10 days, they're certainly going to be excited to play this weekend. But looking back on Sunday, Brandon Murray, started getting up and throwing in the bullpen in the 5th inning on Sunday to potentially come in the game. And, he probably threw, close to 100 pitches in the bullpen on Sunday, and ultimately ends up coming in, I believe, in either the 10th or 11th inning. And of course the Gamecocks ended up losing that game on Sunday, and then now he's starting on Wednesday. So, mentally for those pitchers, that can be a little bit tough. So, and I know that's, you got to play each game as you're trying to win it, but hopefully these guys will be able to establish their roles a little bit more, and we'll kind of know who the midweek starters are. And there's a comfort level there. I mean, I can remember pitching, and for the majority of my career, I was a starter, but there were times where I was in the bullpen, and, there was, when I was with the Rockies, I guess in AAA, there were times where, it seemed like about a 6-week stretch where we had a couple big league guys coming down making starts. So I was kind of the swing guy, and I would go from starting 1 game to relieving 2 games in a row and then starting another one. And I'm kind of going back and forth, not knowing what the heck's going on. And that's an uneasy scenario. And a lot of people say, oh, well, it's just pitching. It's just get ready and pitch. And it's just not that way. You ask anybody that's played at a high level, if they don't know their role in the bullpen or as a starter, it can make things really, really difficult. So I definitely think Brandon Murray is a heck of a lot better than what he showed Wednesday night. And honestly, what he showed on Sunday, I think he may have been a little bit tired after throwing so long. He threw in on Sunday's game in the bullpen before he came in the game. So South Carolina, again, off to a good start this week, and hopefully they can continue through the weekend and against Michigan State.
Need to point out as well, Colby Lee and Reed Scott came on in relief of Brandon Murray, who got just the 1 out. And Lee worked 3 2/3 innings, gave up just 1 run on 3 hits, struck out 4 and walked 2. And then Reed Scott ended up picking up the win. He worked 5 innings full, gave up just 1 run, 4 hits, struck out 8, and walked 2. Scott threw 77 pitches, so nice to see him bounce back after a rough outing against Clemson last weekend. So the Gamecocks pick up 2 wins this week. They're now 9-5 on the year, and they're ready to take on Michigan State starting Friday at Founders Park. Gamecock Central Radio here, Emerson Phillips with Gamecock legend Kip Bouknight. We hope you'll download the Gamecock Central Radio app. We got this free phone app that allows you to listen to our podcast for free on your cell phone. You can get the app on the App Store and on Google Play, and then you can subscribe to our podcast on popular services like iTunes, SoundCloud, and others, or just visit radio.GamecockCentral.com. So Michigan State coming in off a 9-2 loss Wednesday at Fluor Field in Greenville to Clemson. But the Gamecocks, looking at the typical 3 weekend starters that they've run all year, it'll be Clark Schmidt Friday against Alex Troop for Michigan State. Troop is a sophomore lefty, 2-0 with a 1.8 ERA, and Schmidt's been fantastic this year for the Gamecocks, 2-0 with a 0.48 ERA. He's walked a lot of batters, Kip, but that 0.48 ERA, hard to get much better than that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but the walks are a little bit of a concern, and I think Schmidt just needs to trust his stuff a little bit more and pound the strike zone. And I'd rather see his line be 7 or 8 innings, maybe even a complete game. He's a guy that, in my opinion, could be a workhorse for us and throw, 7 innings should be a short outing for him, in my opinion. With his stuff, he should be able to get through 7 innings with 80-something pitches or less and try to get to that 8th and 9th inning and be able to, get through. And it saves the bullpen for the weekend. I think that's just a really important thing. But I think he's just, facing a little bit better hitters against Clemson. I think he was just kind of a little concerned about trusting his stuff, and his stuff's plenty good enough. I mean, he's got stuff that's definitely going to be challenged at the next level. And he's got to trust that, hey, it doesn't matter who's up there. I got to trust my stuff and pound the zone and throw strikes, use my fastball in and out, and pitch behind if I ever need to. But really and truly, he's got a good enough sinker that he could just throw a lot of those and get a lot of ground balls throughout the game. And I think he's just being a little bit too passive. And it's kind of hard to find criticism when a guy's got an ERA less than 1. But I'm just speaking from a pitcher's perspective and what I see and what I do think that he could, continue to work on. And I'm sure those things are being talked about with Jerry Myers and the rest of the coaching staff with the players.
Saturday's probable starters: Will Crow for the Gamecocks, 2-0 with a 2.6 ERA, 22 Ks and just 4 walks and 17 1/3 innings of work for Crow. And it'll be Ethan Landon, junior right-hander from Michigan State, 0-0 record, 6.75 ERA. He's worked 10 2/3, 8 strikeouts and 5 walks on the year for Landon. And then Sunday's probable starters: Adam Hill for the Gamecocks, sophomore righty, 0-2 with a 1.56 ERA. He's already worked 17 1/3 innings, 20 Ks, 7 walks. And for Michigan State, it'll be Andrew Gonzalez, junior right-hander, 1-0 with a 5.00 earned run average. So the Gamecocks are ranked as high as number 7 in the country in the polls this week, and Michigan State comes in with a record of 9-2. Kip, they played UNC Greensboro a couple weekends ago, and they lost the Sunday game to UNCG after winning the first 2, much in the way that South Carolina did against UNCG several weeks ago. So, one common opponent there, and of course Michigan State got spanked pretty good by Clemson up at Fluor Field Wednesday night, 9-2, the final there. So Michigan State's got to be happy to get another, high-profile series here. They're getting a top 10 opponent on the road. They're 9-2. They're not ranked, but if they can win this series against South Carolina, I think they start making a case for breaking into the top 25.
Yeah, they are, Emerson. And bottom line, South Carolina is, and I've said this even the years they won the national championship, they're not good enough just to show up and play. They absolutely have to come ready to play and play good, clean, solid baseball. Move guys over, runner on second, nobody out, have the right approach, hit the ball to the right side. Bunt guys over if need be, execute the hit and run, execute sac fly opportunities. When you're up 3 or 4 to nothing in the 5th inning and the number 7 or 8 hold guys up, trust your stuff and go right after him. No walks in those scenarios. Pitch to your defense, pitch to the actual game. Those are things that those guys have to continue to do to make sure they give themselves the best opportunity to win. Because like I said, bottom line, and this is in no way, shape, or form a negative, but it is what it is. They're just not good enough to show up and strap it on and just win. They've got to play good, solid baseball, and they can win a lot of games. This is a team that could easily have a chance to get to Omaha, but they've got to put the right pieces in place, and they've got to play hungry each time they come out, because I can tell you this much: when opponents come to Carolina Stadium, our Founders Park, they're ready to play. South Carolina's got the reputation of being one of the best programs, if not the best program in all of baseball. So they're not gonna. It's not gonna be hard for the opposing team to get up to play. So South Carolina's got to make sure they're mentally prepared and ready to go each and every game they play.
Kip, what did the Gamecocks learn about themselves after the Clemson series last weekend? And is the old adage true that you learn more about yourself when you lose than when you win?
Absolutely. I mean, again, I think it's positive they came back and won these 2 games this week. I still have a good many concerns on this team moving forward. Just being able to get Destino going, and I mean, I know we hit a couple home runs this week, but I'm just not sure the pitching quality was there for the Citadel or Winthrop that we're going to face in SEC play. So the bats are still a concern for me. But, yeah, absolutely. You're definitely going to learn more when you fail. I say you're going to learn. The opportunity's there to learn. Whether the guys can, take what the coaching staff talks about in the film room and look back at those experiences that they had and learn from those mistakes, that's a question that remains to be answered. So, hopefully they can. The opportunities to learn are out there for them. It's up to them to dig deep and learn from those mistakes.
All right, final weekend of the non-conference portion of the schedule here. 3 with Michigan State at Founders Park, and then a midweek game with Furman next week before the Gamecocks head off to Knoxville, Tennessee to open SEC play. Kip, thanks for the report today. Have a great weekend.
You too. Go Gamecocks.
All right, that's Kip Bouknight, the Gamecock legend, and I'm Emerson Phillips, and this is Gamecock Central Radio. Thanks for being with us.